Hey there, I'm Brent with Hillside Solutions. We are partnered with you, Baxter Subaru, to help your facility be a zero waste workspace. I'm going to tell you what that means and how you can participate in that. So let's go. Before we go any further, I just want to say I am a Subaru owner, so this video is legit.
All right, so the first thing you need to know is zero waste doesn't actually mean zero. There's a 10% oops kind of factor. So 90% or more to be considered zero waste is going to be recycled, composted, also reduced or reused. But that means that 10% or less can be landfilled or sent to a place that burns it. Your primary way of interacting with this program is what we call a zero waste station. We have these at different places around the facility. When you need to throw something away, you go here and you put it in the right slot. We'll go into how to know what goes where, but I also want to talk a little bit about why do we do this and how do we know it actually does what it says it's supposed to do. So why do we do this? Well, for example, 1 million bottles of water are sold every minute. If you are using recycled material to make new things instead of virgin material, you can save upwards of 88% of energy. So at scale, this is pretty significant. So we can see why we do it, but we've seen the headlines, do we actually have a legit recycling program? Well, for Omaha, good news, it is actually very legit because we, as your hauler, Hillside, take it to First Star Recycling. You can see this on YouTube. And this is a behind the scenes look of what goes on there. You can see we bring your materials to a dock here to unload everything. And then they have a host of people and technologies that separate this stuff. So here you see people actually picking through things, if that gives you some perspective of what you can and can't recycle. And as well as some wonderful state-of-the-art technology that they use. And they end up bundling all that stuff up and then find people that want to purchase it to make new things. Okay, so then there's composting. What is that? So if recycling is humans make things, we're going to reuse those things. Composting is nature makes things, we're going to help nature reuse those things. Just as important, but just kind of a different category. And so why don't more people do it? Well, if you're like me, I used to think that when my food waste went to a landfill, it just turned into dirt and that was no big deal, right? Well, we have to understand how landfills work. So the trash comes down for the day. They're required by law to put a layer of fill dirt on top, which is a good idea to pack it in, but that creates an anaerobic environment, which is bad. So basically we need oxygen to hit the stuff to break it down, and you don't get that in a landfill. So what happens? Well, let's see. A head of lettuce, which is easily biodegradable, right? It is a friendly, innocent little thing, right? What harm can it do? Well, when we put it in landfill, it can take 10 to 25 years to break down. What is going on that whole time? Turns out there's bacteria that live in our landfills and eat away at that stuff. Like if we went to the China buffet after this and hung out for 20 years and we just ate nonstop, hanging out in the same room, we would put off some gas. They put off gas too, only it's methane gas, and it is 120 times more potent than CO2, which comes out of cars. And so considering that 34% of the methane that comes out of America comes out of our landfills, you can see that this is a pretty big deal. And so now we take our innocent head of lettuce, and when we put it in landfill, we are weaponizing it to pollute the air we breathe and hurt the planet, contribute to climate change. So no good. Look at it this way, 20-year-old carrots. If you saw this at the farmer's market, you'd be like, that is some delicious artisanal carrots. Let's get those and eat them tonight. But no, they are poison sticks, okay? So that's what's going on in our landfills. The benefits of composting is when you take food waste and you turn it into kind of a soil mixture that you use to grow the next crop, you're taking all the nutrients left over in that and feeding it to the new crop, and that actually makes it taste better. Delicious fruits and vegetables taste good because they're grown in good soil, okay? Agricultural processes, they don't create good soil. They actually dry it out when they pour those chemicals on it. And so when it rains, that washes away. Instead, like when you compost, it holds it together and reinforces the connectivity of that soil. So modern, like conventional farmers are headed to a clay layer in our soils if they don't change practices, and that's not going to be good. Composting also solves the carbon bank problem. What is that? Well, we've been putting pollution in the air for decades, and how do we get it out of there? when we grow things, it sucks that pollution out of the air because it's CO2, puts it back into the ground where it came from, fossil fuels. And there's things in the soil that eat that as food. And what they put out is not methane. They put out nutrients, which then go back into the plant and make the plant stronger and taste better. So it's like this wonderful feedback loop. And this movie, Kiss the Ground, goes into that and kind of explains how we can easily solve climate change just by growing more things. And you should watch it. It's on Netflix. It'll totally inspire you. You'll want to start a garden, though. That's my warning. So why do we do this? Well, when we recycle and we compost, we're participating in the circular economy. And this is the circular food system when you compost. So you drop off your compostables in our carts, like at this church here. We take it to our site in Ashland, Nebraska, at Soil Dynamics, turn it into this finished compost. It goes back out to gardens and farms and construction projects in the Omaha area. So every time you compost at work, you're contributing to this process. Then you grow things and then whenever they're done growing, they're going to put some of that back in here, and we're going to take it and turn it into this, and the process goes on and on and on like this. Okay, so let's break into how we separate materials. So at the zero waste station, you'll see what we call the fiber stream. That's just a way of saying paper and cardboard because they're fibrous. That's what goes in here. So that includes all papers except paper towels and napkins. Why not? They're soiled, and you don't want to recycle that. You saw people are going to pick through that. They don't want to pick through your snotty little tissue rag, but we can compost it. But otherwise, pretty much any other paper type material is good to go. You don't have to overcomplicate this. Cardboard, easy. Tapes, the tape label staples on it, totally fine. The biggest thing that people mess up here is they just don't flatten it. You got to flatten it. Then the next stream we have is what we call the container stream. And this is, think about it like metals and plastics, but they're sort of things that contain something. So your cans, your plastic bottles, aseptic containers. So when it comes to the metals, aluminum and steel and tin, all that, they are recyclable, but just not the aluminum foil or aluminum pans. Those would be a landfill item. Aerosol cans, oil cans, as long as they're empty, they're good to go. Plastics, okay? Here's the key with plastics. Don't worry about the numbers on them. Just think about it. I'll make it super simple. Hard and rigid containers are good to go in your normal recycling. These are all kind of meaty. There's a lot there to recycle. They contain things. They're more hard and rigid. These aseptic containers, milk, juice jugs and all that kind of stuff, good to go. People and parts and services, your oil cans, as I mentioned, and then like this little plastic thing here that I saw everywhere, that is good to go in the container stream. So there are plastics that don't go in there, and that's when they invented this stream. It's the hefty renew bag stream, or used to be called energy bag. We just call it soft plastics in case they change the name again. This is for hard recycled plastics that you can't. So these are things that if you put in your recycling at home or at work, they go to the landfill. But if they make it into this orange hefty energy bag stream, then they will be recycled. So these are things like styrofoams. Just think about it in the three main categories: styrofoams from like food, takeout stuff; soft flexible plastics like chip bags, and you can see food wrappers and things like that; and then plastic utensils. So that includes like plastic straws, forks and stuff like that. Those are the big three categories of things that go in there. These are just like cheaper plastics. There's not a lot to it. And there we go. What it becomes is they make some plastic lumber for decking, for furniture, as well as plastic crates that will replace wood crates and last like 3 or 4 times longer. So, and they do that all at First Star in Omaha. So legit recycling. Okay, composting. So when you compost with us, we take it to our site in Ashland. So Dynamics, as I mentioned, it is an industrial process. So we can compost more than what you can do in your backyard, for those that are familiar with that. So that means all food, including meat, dairy, and bones, good to go. Any food thing is good to go. You don't have to worry about it. That also includes coffee grounds and coffee filters, which would be big for your office. Paper towels, napkins, tissues, all that stuff. Just no receipt paper. You can recycle that, or the sugar packets or wax paper from food and stuff like that. The only one that's really kind of confusing is the BPI compostable serveware. So your office is getting this compostable coffee cup. So the top, the lid, the sleeve, all of it's compostable. And it's possible that in the future there will be additional compostable items. So if that happens, just know that there's a range of compostable items, but you really want to look out for the BPI logo or any of these logos on them. Those items should say compostable on it. And if they do, it's good to go. In the bathrooms, because we can compost paper towels, you will see this setup here. So please participate in that. Everything else can just be landfilled. And then there is going to be at least one space in your office at the time of making this. It's going to be in the employee lounge for glass recycling. So just bottles and jars, not mirrors or light bulbs, just bottles and jars, and labels, caps are okay. And if they break, that's fine too. And no liquids, that's it. So a bit on just some, strategies for recycling in terms of the condition of the items. Number one, dry and empty. So is best for recyclables. So obviously you can't rinse something out at work very well. So think about a yogurt cup. If there's food residue or there's liquid residue on something, that's okay. You just don't want bites or drinks. So make sure to, finish or dump out your soda before you try to recycle it, or take that last bite out of the yogurt cup before you try to recycle it, but the residue on it's totally fine. So no, totally chill. All right. The other thing is, for you who are kind of freaked out about this, I'm going to give you a pass, at least for a little while, because we have the saying, it's when in doubt, throw it out in the landfill. So if you don't know if the item is recyclable or compostable, just put it in the landfill. And so if it's something you're going to throw away, often, then at that point, just ask someone to clarify what you do next time, and you should be good to go. That leaves us with the last one, last and least, landfill. And so these are some of the common items I found in your space that would belong in the landfill. So conventional coffee cups, like from Scooters and Starbucks, as it stands now, have a plastic lining on the inside, and we can't recycle it or compost it. So it's a landfill thing. Aluminum foil, aluminum pans, the sugar packets, gum has plastic in it. Probably don't want to chew that. But if you do, put it in landfill. And then fast food packaging, it's generally pretty mysterious what's in it, but for sure this wax paper stuff, it would be, it's going to be food soaked, so it's not really recyclable, and it probably has a plastic liner in it. So parts and services, folks, filters, gloves, sorbents, those are all landfill items. And if you want to look into this more, we have a really great guide on our website, hillside.solutions/zero waste guide. Check that out. And if you want to start composting at home, we have a residential program called Compost Club. You join, pay a monthly fee, get access to 60 different drop-off sites around town, as well as get free compost back, as well as discounts and other stuff we sell. It's a great way to take what you're doing at work and bring it home. So check that out.
So there it is. Congratulations. By doing this, you're making your workplace zero waste, but also paving the way for the way we're going to be doing things in the future to combat climate change. Soon enough, this will be standard practice in a lot of places. So you are amongst the first to do it around here, and we appreciate you being a leader.